Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL, not just PSG, at this moment in time, for another social race on the PlayStation platform. And this one around a track that the drivers will be familiar with if they have already done their evaluation races in offline mode. This is the historic Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, the longest circuit on the calendar for the Belgian Grand Prix. And one of the first social races we've had with a standard format on the PlayStation platform. No sprint qualifying, your standard 18 minutes today, followed by a 22-lap race. My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me in the commentary box tonight is Evan Dalton. Evan, how are you doing?
Hello Luke, I am good. It's a pleasure to be here for this social race. We're just getting started now. Just a quick weather change had to be put on. It's exciting to get going. Of course, as you said, the evaluation race is here. Most of these drivers using this as a practice for that. So we'll be interesting to see the pace early on now on the game. Of course, we've had a couple of social races before in PSGL and in other organisations. So it will be an exciting one tonight.
Yeah, we have got some incredible drivers here tonight as they are just...
Yes, I'm here. Apologise for that.
Yeah, apologies for that, everyone. We appear to have had a slight disconnection, but it looks like OBS has woke itself up ever so slightly. So yeah, just going through some of the drivers that were there. As we were saying, Ballina, F2 champion, Duncan, an incredibly fast driver. We've got Benjamin as well, Casper, other drivers in F1. So there's some very quick drivers in this field.
Yeah, very quick drivers. Of course, Duncan, one of the championship challengers, is something the man Gordon Wilson's scared of, as the joke is going around. Very fast driver from the Netherlands, of course. There's some upcoming drivers here as well. Balner, the F2 champion of last season, as we were saying. We have CRG Midnight as well, the recent addition to the Comrade Gaming roster. And then, as we said, Balner leaving VRT this morning. And be interesting to see if he joined.
So yes, Evan, any drivers you think in particular are going to be looking, that you expect to be looking pretty fast tonight? Anyone you've got your eye on?
Someone to keep an eye on, in my opinion, is the man who has organised this race, Ash. There was a talk between the drivers that he is very, very fast tonight. For this race, he was saying that he can get a 0.0. I don't know what second that is in, but he seems to be one of the favourites tonight. And a couple of drivers as well going to be testing the medium compounded tyres. And apologies for any audio issues, there just seems to be a bit of an issue with my end. I'll get it sorted in a moment.
Yeah, well, hopefully we do get the technical issues sorted. This is why we have social races. It's chances for the drivers to practice. It's chances for us to get ourselves warmed up as well. Luckily, things that they won't have to worry for, which you do sometimes have around the Belgium circuit. Thankfully, they won't have to worry about the weather, and they won't have to worry about any safety cars as well. And I know anyone who was watching Formula E earlier on can see just exactly the chaos that safety cars and the like can cause on. So hopefully, we should get a great race tonight for these drivers too. Maybe just put a bit of a show on. Those that aren't in F2, aren't in F1 I should say, might be able to show why they perhaps deserve to be in F1 in the future. So we have got one of the drivers out on a hot lap then, so let's go on board with one of the most experienced drivers in the field, Ash Best, for a run here down the old start finish straight, of course, on the run now through Eau Rouge and Radion, straight flat out there in qualifying, as you would expect it to be, over the top of the hill, now down the Kemmel Straight DRS zone. Expect to see plenty of overtakes here in the race, possibly in that first lap as well. You never know. Into Lecombe then, 29.8 for the first sector, looking very good indeed. 139s are possible on the PlayStation this time around. Whether that remains the case after any updates, we'll have to wait and see. Down into Bruxelles then, looking nice and tidy at this moment in time into the no-name corner. It's very easy to just run slightly wide there, and you can see just going slightly, taking it a bit safer perhaps on this first run, as you would expect. Through Pouhon, that curb there, still very easy to spin around that first part of the Pouhon curb. Now into the Campus chicane. Spa, like a lot of tracks, need to have a bit of a compromise setup. Sector 1 and Sector 3, all about straight line speed. Sector 2, as you can see, plenty of corners requiring downforce as you come in through Paul Frey into Stavelo, flat out now. Watch out for that barrier on the left hand side, can easily catch people out there now on the run towards Blanchimont. A bit like Eau Rouge and Radion used to be a major challenge in the olden days of the sport. Now, nothing for these drivers to worry about. And into the reprofiled bus stop chicane. Been like this for about 15 years now. Does provide more of an overtaking opportunity. And Ash Best spinning it round there, just getting it a bit wrong on the traction. Thankfully, no damage. Thankfully able to recover into the pit lane. But that's something we're going to see more of on this game. You can't just run the lap with one brake bias, as Duncan goes fastest on a 140.839, quickly beaten by Alonso, who's driving in the Alpha Tauri tonight on a 140.814. We're going to see a few more of those spins, I think, especially in the social races and in the first few races of the season.
Yeah, spins we do see quite a lot. Some of the drivers especially struggling with the curbs, especially at Lake Home. I've seen a couple struggle through Pujon, although it was always a big bit of an issue. First banker times going in, as you said, at 40.6. A couple of predictions in the stream chat. Some people saying 39.9 pole incoming, and again, as you said, that is the current world record here on the PlayStation platform. So it'll be interesting to see, can we reach peak lap time here tonight?
Yeah, well, we'll have to just wait and see how it goes for all these drivers. We've got Javi now in the other Ferrari. His teammate obviously having that slight little mistake earlier on. He is on a set of the medium tyres, so you wouldn't expect him to be challenging for the fastest time at the moment. Just trying to get a bit of a banker lap in. We imagine drivers will be going for soft medium strategy or medium soft, and it looks like Javi's actually setting up for the second hot lap there. Longest circuit on the calendar, 146.242. Just a second warm-up lap, and I think now will be the one that we see a bit more from him coming through. Who else have we got heading towards the line? Law, he's 155.076. Again, another driver who
doesn't appear to have any damage. My audio issues seem to be fixed for the time being. I do apologise for that. We're all good to go. A couple of invalidations on that lap as well. Balliner being the main one that I've picked out, and of course a couple of banker times going in there at the bottom. As we can see, some people on hot laps. VRL Frick is one of them. He's currently at the left hand. No, he's invalidated, so ignore that lap. But one thing that we do note here is the strategy. It's still a fairly straightforward one. Of course, this is an all-dry race, so no weather conditions to worry about here.
Yeah, apologies. I do seem to be having a few connection issues, and it just keeps kicking me out of the session. So we might have to go radio commentary every now and then. Qualifying, though, is important, obviously, around all circuits. But around this one, as we saw in many of the tiers last season, overtaking is always a possibility around this circuit. So definitely a chance, even if you do start a bit further down, things can go well. And you can sometimes make that alternate strategy work and put on some good action later on in the race.
Yeah, lots of overtaking opportunities, especially you've turn one, you have the big long Camel Straight, of course, down into Lake Combe, bus stop chicane, and you'll see a couple of people probably send it in the middle sector. There's a little gaps that can form through there, especially in the middle of the races. There'll be some people on soft tyres, some people on medium tyres, and just some people really eager to get through. Still drivers just looking to get up to speed. The Alpha Tauri of Elor Fergie with a 51.6, that's not a competitive time in the slightest.
No, he'll definitely be hoping to get a better run, as Benjamin has retired from the session. Just trying to see where that is out on circuit, and it looks like he has lost it. I think it's one of the Alpines coming around. You can see there coming out of Lacombe and Malmedy, just getting it wrong, hitting the curb, and he is out of the session. So 140.740, former F2 champion, put on a good performance, especially towards the end of last season in F1. Fortunately, second's the best he'll be doing tonight, and you'd be surprised if he starts that high. You do imagine he will drop down the order as the circuit improves.
Yeah, a lot of drivers still to set some times as well, so we will be seeing Benjamin drop, as we've another spinner at Pujon. That is the AlphaTauri who I was talking about, Fergie. He has dropped it there, just got on the curb. Common driver mistake we would see more so in the lower tiers of PSGL, but we've seen it now here in the social race, and I can't imagine that'll be the last time we see it. Benjamin saying whoopsie in the chat, so that was a driver error, I would say. No collision or anything, which is a good sign.
Yeah, thankfully for him, he is able to continue, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the only one. Of course, social races, drivers are going to push slightly differently. Drivers still getting used to all the different setups, and we're going to have to see what they can do. Juanito just getting a little bit of a cheeky slipstream there off of Lars Kramer. Of course, that wouldn't be allowed once the season started, but don't think there was anything intentional in that. Running very low on fuel, and we'll see what he can do, and just hits that curb on the inside. And with the reduced downforce, of course, and curbs floor downforce being a bit more of a part on this game, you can just see lines which drivers were able to take comfortably on the last game, trying it on this one, really unsettling the car. And thankfully, at least for him, he was able to hold on to the car, but definitely costing him a good few tenths of a second.
Yeah, that is one thing many drivers have noticed, as that is the Ferrari of Ash come to second place, beating Benjamin's time with a 40.7. It's still a competitive time, but there's a lot of improvement there, as he was saying himself, actually, before the race. And, oh, there's another AlphaTauri off of Pujon. That's Falcon Alonso off at Pujon there. So, that corner seems to be struggling for whatever setup the AlphaTauris are running. And speaking of setups, I still think a couple of drivers are actually running presets still tonight, still not finding a comfortable setup for their car.
No, and I think we've had another driver there who's not found a comfortable setup, and that is Isma. He's lost it now, coming through part of the lap. So a lot of drivers struggling. We'll see Midnight here just coming through that camper chicane, and there will be a car pretty much parked on the racing line. Thankfully, ghosting is on. Always a bit off-putting though when you see that. So that is the Williams in a bit of trouble. What can Midnight do though? 112.7 through the middle sector, touted by a few drivers as maybe one to watch this season. We'll see how he does now that he's of course CLG joining Conrad after leaving the Shazoo team towards the end of the last game cycle into the bus stop chicane. Now what is it going to be for Midnight? He decides wisely perhaps to avoid that curb on the inside, and this looks like a very good lap indeed from Midnight. Second position, 15 thousandths of a second off of Casper's time, as Lakitu now retires out on track, and that is coming out of Bruxelles. The drivers are definitely finding this quite tricky, as Duncan goes fastest of everyone, first driver into the 140.5s. There's going to have to be a massive improvement, Evan, if we are to see that 139.9 that was predicted earlier on.
Yeah, big improvement needed. Duncan's teammate Balliner just following him into the top of the timing sheets, currently a Red Bull 1-2, and as you were saying, some drivers struggling there, especially we've seen the Williams. I didn't think he was going to go for a second and we'd have a colossal collision. That's an Aston Martin on provisional pole now, with a 104.5, lap time slowly dropping, which is a positive sign, if any.
Yeah, Casper there finding quite a bit of time. He was about a quarter of a second up coming through the final sector. So Casper on a 140.401, former F1 Esports driver, of course, for Team Vitality in the Renault, and we'll have to see how he does here. But a VSR 1-2 at the moment. Balliner in third, Midnight fourth, Ash Best in fifth position. Still 4 drivers yet to set a lap. Both Alfa Romeos we know that Lakitu won't be doing. Laganga in the Haas, and Frick in the Aston Martin, finding it a bit tricky at this moment in time. With it being a long track as well, Evan, the drivers don't get too many opportunities to get a lap timing. You're talking, as you can see, 100-second laps. It's not like Austria where you've got time for 4 fast runs. You're really going to have 3 max, and if you invalidate a run, so costly, as we're already seeing.
Yeah, and especially the risk some drivers will take is if they invalidate their first lap, they'll save the fuel and go for another run. That's costly, because that'll take time off your lap at the end. If you want to get another lap in at the end, you will be pushing your final out lap, which of course will wear your tyres. And as we all well know, the fastest lap in the session normally comes at the end. Duncan's made a big mistake at the bus stop chicane, impeding an Alfa Romeo there. Duncan seems to be struggling, of course, set that fastest lap, but that is his second big moment of the session so far.
Yeah, there's lack of consistency that we're seeing. It's not really going to affect you too much in the qualifying session, but obviously later on, it is going to cause problems. As Law there, he's quite a long way up in Sector 1, but it looks like he has had to go off track to get that far off. So down in 16th at the moment, 155.076. Gotta say, Liso's bottom 3 that have set a lap time, not really representative. Another yellow flag. I think that was just Casper getting out of the way, I should say, of Frick, his teammate, who now comes through the final part of the lap keeps it valid. This is going to be his first time in this session, and it is good enough for 11th. Good enough for that alternate strategy. Pole position, and now quite a margin behind the top 10. Isma currently just inside that top 10 on a 140.970. 3.5 minutes to go then. Still some drivers yet to set a representative lap time. Tony, he's another one who's invalidated despite being up, and Laganga as well. Can anyone challenge one of them VSR drivers? Maybe Ballina and Ballina and Midnight do look pretty good. Just depends on whether you can get the space. You should be able to on a 7 kilometre long track. Space should be no problem whatsoever, but F1 cars tend to have a tendency to just always end up in the same part of the track, I've found.
Yeah, that is somewhere, as we mentioned earlier, Austria, a problem. It's also a bit of a problem with this track at that bus stop chicane. The traffic can build up there. And one man who I did expect to see a little bit up the session is the man at the bottom of the standings currently, VRT Georges. He's very fast over one lap. If anyone does watch any other leagues, you would see the Formula Euro League. He's taken a fair few pole positions there. He's very quick over one lap. But not today, seemingly. And a lot of drivers do seem to be struggling with the track limits. That could be something they still are yet to get used to. Of course, they have changed a little bit from the last game, as we've seen in some tracks like Hungary and some tracks like Spain a little bit, especially. Turn 1 seems to be a bit of a controversial one at Spain. But here at Spa as well, there seem to be, as there's a tyre in the middle of the track in the last sector. It's obviously just a visual glitch, but it's a little bit off-putting for drivers who are flying through there.
Yeah, hopefully it's just a glitch on our end. Hopefully the drivers aren't having to cope with that. Juanito's been having quite a bit of trouble there, overheating the tyres. There's another spinner, and that is going to be Yavi on an out lap. So already we can see yellow flags all over the place. I can't remember that many sessions where we've had this many yellow flags. Ash Best slightly up through the first sector then. Doesn't need to find a lot of time to beat Midnight. He's just ran wide through Lacombe. Lap ruined straight away. Just as we needed a demonstration to prove how tricky this is. Lars Kramer's about to go on to his final hot lap on those soft tyres. It is all kicking off.
The Haas of Laganga is in the wall just after Pujon, and he's another one who's made a mistake and he's disqualified from the session now. We're driving the wrong way. There's actually another tyre on the circuit now. There's one just after the Lacombe chicane. And a lot of drivers pushing on this outlap purely just to make the line, because they've made so many mistakes on outlaps and on in-laps. They're going to struggle just to get a competitive time in at the end of the session.
Yeah, they are indeed now. They're really starting to run out of time. Laganga obviously being disqualified means he is going to be last on the grid. So that's good news for some of those like Lakita who did crash earlier on. Not long to go in this session. On board now with VRT Georges. Let's see what he can do in the Alfa Romeo. Of course, getting confirmed that Alfa Romeo will be staying in the sport in 2022 and beyond, keeping on with this partnership with the Sauber team. Just taking a bit too much curb perhaps at the first part of the campus chicane. So Alfa Romeo and Haas, you could say both Ferrari customer teams struggling at this moment in time. But what can Georges do as he now sticks to that right hand side of the track to open up Blanchimont as much as possible. 195, 196 miles per hour, so just over 310 kilometers per hour then for the VRT driver as he brakes for the bus stop chicane at the 100 meter board. I think a few of those meter boards have been wiped out by various spinners throughout the session. Let's see what VRT Georges can do. Look at that. There's the pace you mentioned, Evan. 140.389. I don't think this man would mind one-shot qualifying, judging by that lap.
That's the lap, and that's the pace we were talking about. He will struggle to keep that one up in the race, but for now, he is flying. A couple of drivers, Duncan has invalidated. Balliner, however, still pushing on his lap. He's just come through the right-hander campus, and now up towards Blanchimont. A couple of retirees. That's someone gone off the top of Radion. That is the Alpine there. I'm not sure which one, but Balliner heading towards the bus stop chicane. No traffic, luckily for him, and there is a 50-meter board missing on that left-hand side. But the extremely fast Dutchman now, DRS active. Is this going to be good enough for a provisional pole?
No, it's not. Balliner 4 thousandths off there in the end, so you can see how close it's going to be. Midnight is improving here, and this could be a good enough lap to get him from 5th, ahead of both of the Red Bulls. Alonso, identical time to Duncan, and there we go. Midnight does move up into that 3rd place. Casper improving at the moment, but still lots of other drivers on laps not too far behind. We've got Mish currently in 13th, not able to improve, the F1 driver from last season. Farby looks as though he's going to jump quite a long way up the order here, 10th to 4th. Great lap from the McLaren driver. We are now pretty much in the final death throes of this session. Xavi, he's not improving whatsoever. S2V Law comes across the line, goes up into 12th place, and now it is all for Casper. VSR have looked like the quickest teams throughout this session so far, and Casper 1.5 tenths up through the second sector. Is he going to be able to just hold this through this part of the lap? Georges goes even faster on a second lap on those soft tyres. Casper comes across the line, and I think just misses out by about 15 thousandths of a second. So as I just wait for the confirmation for that, it looks like Georges has managed to get on pole position, and there we go. Casper lines up in second, very close in the end, 14 thousandths of a second on the longest track of the calendar. Should bode for a fantastic race.
Georges, with that second lap at the end, is what sealed it. That was a clever decision to take the second lap, because that has sealed him pole position. Casper, though, looking very, very quick in that Aston Martin. And a couple of disappointing performances who we will see fighting up from the bottom, of course. Benjamin being one of them, crashing out earlier on in the session. And a couple of drivers at the back of the grid who we will be seeing pick up the performance, hopefully, during the race.
Yeah, two drivers actually managed failing to set a time in that session, which is less than ideal, I think it is fair to say. But as you said, there were lots of drivers just struggling there. Maybe, I mean, I doubt it's anything to do with the track temperatures. You'd imagine it's perfectly ideal conditions. A lot of drivers leaving it late to even set a lap time, Georges especially. But he proved he was able to set two fantastically quick lap times. I think his first one would, in the end, have been good enough for second on the grid behind Casper. But obviously, that final one, good enough to take pole position then. And that must give him a lot of confidence. He was, of course, in F2 last season. But as we can see, people just having to drive slightly differently on this game now, getting used to the new handling settings of the cars.
Yeah, George has proven himself against big guns in PSGL, currently doing a fantastic job, but the points are scored in the race, of course, so we'll have to wait and see, can he perform over the 22 laps of the Belgian Grand Prix. Formation lap to get us started, as per usual. A couple of people that we might want to watch who could find themselves shooting up in the race. Benjamin, of course, being one of them, who actually starting 9th, even just with that first lap he had in the qualifying session. He will be starting 9th. And just one quick thing, I'm going to overcut myself. A couple of people, strategies there. Of course, we can't really trust the graphic because it is technically an AWS graphic, and well, some people will know not the most trustworthy things in Formula 1. Some people saying a soft hard, but I imagine it will be a simple soft medium for our top 10. And the drivers starting on the mediums, a medium soft.
Yeah, and you can see there, it's outside the top 10, it's only Xavi and Laganga going for that set of soft tyres, so they are going to have to get a fantastic start to this race around, as we said, one of the most historic tracks in Formula 1. 7.004 kilometres, 4.352 miles, and 19 turns through the Ardennes Forest. 2 DRS zones on the run down to La Source, and that one up the hill into Lacombe, where we imagine we will see the majority of the overtakes. As the strategy comes up again, 2 stops, you'd only really see if there is a safety car, and as we've already said, safety cars are going to be off for this, so that is not a problem that anyone will have to deal with. It's going to be interesting to see how some of those quicker drivers, perhaps, obviously Benjamin down in 9th place at the moment, Isma in 11th, Mish, let's not forget, a race winner in PSGL F1 last season at Singapore, down in 14th. Going to be interesting to see how these drivers cope, because unlike in leagues, there might be a bit more of a pace difference in this field, and in a way, you need to get the moves done as quickly as possible, but you need to be patient and don't want to do it at a stupid part of the track that could cost you time, cost you damage. Even though it's only a social race, these drivers want to win tonight.
Yep, of course, this is one of the proving points to prove yourself as someone who is worth watching for the game cycle. A stupid move, and they'll be watching you for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. So That is something the drivers will be keeping in mind for this race. Of course, some of them will be here just to have fun, some of them will be here to test themselves against the best for the upcoming game cycle. But here we go, Luke getting ready for the race start. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it is indeed. Georgia's just pulling into position in the Alfa Romeo on pole, like it was in the first ever Belgian Grand Prix 71 years ago. Now Laganga in that Haas, final car to pull into the grid slot. It is not a long run at all down towards turn 1 at La Source. It is that run you're going to want to watch coming out of La Source all the way up Eau Rouge. I think we have got a bit of a lights glitch there. 5 lights are on, but we wait for them to go out for the drivers. There we go. Lights out and away we go. Not a bad start then from Georgia's. Casper's going to try and do this all the way around the outside. He's going to find himself quickly getting squeezed off there as Midnight and Fabi are battling in the back as well. But it is Georgia's Casper, Midnight, Fabi, Duncan, Ballina battling with Alonso as well. Any side-by-side action coming up through the hill here. It's Red Bull versus Alpha Tauri. Very close indeed between the VSR man and the Falcon driver. I don't know who's going to manage to get out ahead of them. Frick is out of the session, already getting it wrong, and that is a virtual safety car straight away. Frick out of the session. Got himself a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting coming through Eau Rouge and Radion. There's not a lot of grip offline there, and he's found that out to his detriment, unfortunately. 2-3 corners into the race, and it is all over for Frick.
What happened at the back there? I was having a look. There seemed to be a bit of contact on the run down to Eau Rouge between Xavi and Frick. Frick had some sort of wobble, the kind of wobble you would get if you got a bad traction zone, but they were in the middle of a straight, so something happened there. The entrance into Eau Rouge from was completely wrong, and unfortunately has sent him into the wall and sent him with an early exit out of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, such a shame for him, of course, so hopefully he'll be able to have another chance in any future social races. Make sure to keep an eye on the PSGL channels for all that. VSC is still out. This is the first time we've tested it on F1 2021, so who knows what could happen. Virtual Micro Massey could keep this safety car out for a long time, and as I say that, we are back to green flag racing. Has anyone been able to get a bit of a run? Ash Best on Ballina here. He's managed to get that position done. They're going to be trying to go side by side through Blanchiment straight away on lap 1. Great racing between the two. A bit of wheel banging there. Ash has to go off the circuit. You've got Duncan, Fabi and Alonso not too far ahead either. Duncan just managing to stay ahead of Alonso. Can't quite get his way past Fabi and Ballingham and Benjamin now going side by side at the end of lap 1. Then we'll take a quick look at the positions gained for all of the different drivers. I think there's been a spinner a bit further back. That is Fergie. Benjamin looking all crossed up there as we are on board with Ballina. It is all happening at this moment in time.
Lakisu's had a big moment to turn 1. He's ended up in that inside barrier, which is something we haven't never really seen a spinner before. He's down to 18th. There was also a bit of a wobble for the Mercedes of Benjamin, but he's in the slipstream of the Ferrari of Ash Best, so he's managed to find himself back up, and Lars Kramer and Ballina at it as well in the mid-pack.
Yeah, you can see Ballina out of those drivers at the front of the field. Really the only driver in the top 10 actually to lose any places. Ash and Benjamin both gaining 1, and you can see they're drifting his way round. It looks spectacular. It's definitely not the fastest way round unless you're Josh Edowu at Monaco at the hairpin. Then it does seem to be the fastest way round. But you see Ballina there in 9th place. Xavi, the first driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty. Track limit violations. Quite easy to do around here. Sometimes if you get it wrong through Eau Rouge and Radion, coming out of Malmedy as well. No-name corners where you see quite a few on this circuit as well, but no real change, or no change whatsoever in the top 6. George's is fastest, Casper 2nd at the moment, Midnight 3rd, Fabi 4th, Duncan 5th and Alonso 6th, and DRS trains of course next time around, and that's going to be something drivers will have been used to it from the last game. They're just going to have to try and get used to it again and see whether on F1 2021 it is more or less powerful, which will have a big say on how the strategies go.
One thing the top drivers have been saying, the top drivers such as Wapmere and Co have been saying slipstream is quite powerful. We've seen that in some test races and in other places at Zandvoort especially. Overtaking seems to be a bit easier, but back to this race, Midnight was really close to the back of Casper at one point in the middle of the lap, dropped back a little bit, but it looks like Casper could be sizing up a move on our race leader Georges here.
Yeah, Georges has had to go on the overtake a bit there. Casper with a bit more VRS, with that slipstream, with the DRS, and there is nothing the Alfa Romeo driver can do. Casper down the inside takes the lead of this race, and Midnight in that awkward third man in between at the moment. Not sure there's a lot he's able to do. Both Hassers moving up on that lap as well. Misha and Juanito are still battling, but Langanga looks to have just about got that position battled ahead of Xavi at the moment. So Langanga started in last place, has moved up 5 positions at this moment in time. Law and Juanito getting very close together. I think that is Tony who's had a bit of an issue further back, down in 18th. Still going around though in this race. Fergie, the only driver to have made a pit stop. He has had to put on a set of the hard tyres as there's been another yellow flag. And just as I said, things were going well for them. I think Juanito's had a bit of a moment there coming through Pujon. Looks so to have got away with it.
He's made a bit of contact with Law there. That's what sees the reaction from me. I thought they'd both gone around, but side by side through Pujon. Didn't work in the last game. It's not going to work on this one either, unfortunately, is what we that incident seems to tell. We've had Fergie into the pits. He's our first pitter in this Grand Prix on a set of the hard compound tyres. Seemed to have picked up a bit of damage. He seems to be having an issue of some sort as he is going very, very slowly through that chicane. Oh, he's disconnected. He's disconnected, I think.
Well, he has got a broken front wing still, so I wonder if he's... I think he might have got it wrong on the hard tyres. We've heard a few drivers saying how difficult it is on the hard tyres on this game, choosing to try and go for that one-stop strategy. They've just caught him out through Eau Rouge and Radion. Now Georges a lot further behind Casper this time around than Casper was on the Alfa Romeo. But just look, once that slipstream and DRS comes in, not quite close enough to have a go down the inside. Ash Best is though on Alonso. That is the Ferrari ahead of the Alfa Tauri. Battle of the Italian teams, and is Ash up into 6th place at the moment. And all this battling is just allowing those front 5 drivers to get away ever so slightly. But you can see how powerful the slipstream was there. Georges was about half a second behind coming over the top of Radion, as that is another yellow flag, and that is Tony out of the race, and that could well be another virtual safety car, or perhaps even a full safety car. But Tony then, another retirement in this race. Lakitu's coming to the pits to put on a set of the hard tyres, so he'll be taking those towards the end of the race. As you see the Alpine in the wall there on that right hand side.
Benjamin's around, and the left-hander, I'm unsure of the name. Something's happened between him and Midnight, because both Mercedes are now 12th and 13th. That is not very good for the Mercedes outfit, as there's been something happen in the middle sector. I can't quite tell what it was, but there was a lot of positional changes there in a very sudden moment. But Benjamin now and Midnight on the back foot in this race.
Yeah, not ideal whatsoever. Toto Wolff's desk has just taken an absolute hammering, I think, after that one. Midnight and Benjamin on those older soft tyres as well, that they did qualifying on. Now down in 12th and 14th. You can just have a look how many positions they've lost. 9 and 5 now, respectively, for Midnight and Benjamin. Not good whatsoever for them. What that has done, though, has created a bit of a split in the top of the field, because Fabi is now outside of DRS range as Xavi retires in the pit lane. And here comes Duncan taking advantage of that basically 3-1. Red Bull down clear on the inside, well before we get to the braking zone here, into the Lecombe chicane. And Duncan, last year's championship runner-up, finished 3rd on this circuit a few months ago. He's in 3rd position now at the moment. Needs to close in within about a second, though, you'd feel. Otherwise, Fabi could well be able to have him back next time around.
Yeah, he needs to get into that slipstream. He needs to get into that DRS. That is crucial for this race, because of Spa, because of the long straights. Of course, DRS and slipstream is a crucial element. He's burning his ERS. He knows just as well as we do what he has to do if he wants to keep this 3rd position in this race, and he wants to keep that McLaren behind. Ash as well could find himself under pressure from Falcon Alonso behind, because he's in no man's land in terms of cars in front of him. 2.2 seconds to the nearest man in front. If we drop back a little bit, Fergie seems to be up and going again. He's on a set of softs. He's a lap down, however, so he's going to find it difficult to get anything from this race, really, but he is trying his best.
Yeah, if you've not seen any PSGL League races before, in common with quite a lot of other leagues, lapped cars are ghosted. They are still expected to get out of the way, but at least it does mean that they're not going to interfere with the racing action quite as much. Duncan clearly getting that memo that he's had to push as hard as possible. DRS assisted fastest lap of the race there, has just about got him within DRS range of George's. Ash Best has broke the DRS to Falcon, and now it's Ballina trying to recover after that less than ideal start earlier on. Has now got himself, thanks to the misfortunes of the Mercedes, back up to the position what he started in, and will he be able to go, as there is a yellow flag at the top of the hill, and that is Lars Kramer out of the race, and that is a full safety car then. First one we've seen on F1 2021 here at PSGL. Full safety car, Lars Kramer out of the race at the top of Radion in the Williams. Already down to just 16 runners. It looks like we're going to have another quite attritional race here, Evan.
That was what would be described by some as a rookie error for Lars Kramer. He's just lost it at the top of Radion. It's disappointing, and he's unfortunately out of the race. And of course, we have our first full safety car on F1 2020. Now, I don't want to put a jinx on anything, but there's been quite a few glitches with these, so we're going to hope everything stays clean. But on a more positive note, Midnight Benjamin have found their way back into this Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's worked out ideal for Lakita as well, who now puts on a set of the medium tyres. He stayed on the lead lap, of course, so unlike Fergie, who has had a few connection issues as well, I think, so he's really out of luck at the moment. It's fantastic for Lakita. He's able to get himself back onto the back of the pack and might have a bit warmer tyres than some of the others. As we see the red safety car, of course, new for this season, alongside the Aston Martin, and will any of the lead cars come into the pits? Ones that might have to stay out. Ballina might decide to stay out. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Maybe Mish as well. But here we go. Race leader and the man in second definitely coming into the pits. Duncan Farby. I think we're pretty much going to see the entire field that have started on the softs come into the pits and get rid of those. Ismix, those on the medium tyres. Although Mish and Love have come into the pits. Those on the mediums. Just trying something different here. You have to use, just like in real life, two different types of tyres. The softs aren't going to make it last, and we've already seen what trouble drivers have had on the hard. So Ismix, in the end, I'm surprised that not many more have decided to do this. He is just staying out as he nearly overtakes for safety car there, and you do not want to do that. That's pretty much almost an instant disqualification, as the game only gives you about 2 seconds to let the safety car back ahead of you. So Ismix now takes the lead of this race as we get a bit of a connection glitch there as Casper's retired from the session.
Fergie's AI car has just taken out Casper. Fergie's AI car is unlapping himself. It's completely rammed Casper. It's hit Ismail as well at the front. And that's one of the weirdest things I've seen. Fergie's AI car is now leading this train, so problems early on with the safety cars here, but that is Casper out of this race, our provisional race leader. Not good at all for the Aston Martin. Thankfully the Williams has managed to avoid damage, as he didn't get hit into a wall or anything, but he did get hit in the rear. And I don't believe rear damage is on for this race, which is lucky if anything for the Williams.
Yeah, it almost looked like the decent collisions that we've seen on previous games where the drivers sort of blend into one. But yeah, very strange indeed. Unfortunately, we didn't catch it on stream for Casper, who in the previous social race just had an issue with the overtake button that sent him spinning around, and now he's out of the race. It looks like he's been taken out possibly by an AI car, or when Fergie's rejoined the session, it has caused a few issues, judging by what we're seeing in the chat. Fingers crossed, by the time it does come to the first races in a few weeks' time, that everything will be fixed with the safety car. Otherwise, we might not be able to use the safety car whatsoever. But it is Fergie leading the pack behind the safety car. He, though, is in last place. Ismix the leader on an old set of the medium tyres. Interestingly, that Laganga decided to stay out on the circuit. He's 6th on that old set of soft tyres. He's really going to struggle, you imagine, once the safety car peels in.
That safety car glitch was actually on the last game as well. It was late on the last game, which would make me think it hasn't been fixed yet. It's definitely going to be something that will be fixed, because there's a lot of viewers here who will be, I'm sure, tweeting at Codemasters. But it's unfortunate for Casper, but the race must go on. Fabi opting for the hards, as well as the other McLaren. Laurie as well going for the hards. Juanito. So, what we've seen with Fergie's early hard stint was he was struggling, as there seems to be more pitters actually. Midnight is in the pits again. He's only on fresh mediums, so has something happened there possibly?
there's got to be some damage, and there you go, front wing change for Midnight. New set of medium tyres going on. That's the only reason that's happened. So some sort of collision under the safety car. Whether, again, has Fergie's AI car been involved with that earlier on? We'll have to wait and see, as Fergie's now actually dropped behind our race leader, and that is absolutely perfect news for the Williams. Ismake's now leading out on track behind the safety car, and of course leading on the timing sheet. We'll get a quicker view of what the penalty situation is at the moment. 8 seconds for Ismake's, and I imagine 5 of them might have been for that little ding-dong that we saw happening with Fergie. So unlucky for him, but that does put Georges, Duncan, Fabi, Ash Best, the majority of the field behind him in a really strong position, especially as the Williams yet to come into the pits.
No, we're cut there, but Mikey has just spun under the safety car at the top of Radion on the hards. He's okay damage-wise, he's going to have some hot tires, but he's completely lost it in what looked that it could be a race-ending collision. He's just about managed to save it somehow. It was a very nice save, if anything. But the driver's just making constant mistakes here around Spa. It's something they're going to be practicing a lot, especially for their evaluation races.
Yeah, just...
And,
yeah, sorry to interrupt, just trying to get used to the setups, I think is part of it. Casper saying that he has got taken out, so that's going to be an interesting one, I think, to look at. But is this just all down to the handling model and the lack of downforce and the way it's changed things on this game?
I think it could be. It's a difficult one to tell, because in some cars and some setups the handling feels nice. This is just from my experience driving, which hasn't been much yet. Obviously I'm not to the level of these racers, safety car in this lap as well, but it just seems to be all of a sudden the car will lose that sense of grip. You'll go over a curb and the car will just slide and you're just in the wall. It's a difficult one, and Casper is very annoyed. He's just tweeted, who TF is Ella or Fergie? Guy just rammed me from behind with 300 km/h under safety car conditions and took me out. Not a happy camper in the Aston Martin garage tonight.
Yeah, I can see why. Casper, who looks to be showing pace towards his best so far in this social race, has just no luck whatsoever in the one I commentated on about a week ago at USA, having that issue with the overtake, just catching him out. And here it looks like it's been completely taken out. But safety car is in this lap. It has peeled away. And when is the Williams going to go? He is going to have to decide. He is leaving it quite late. He has got Fergie behind him. Misha and Lakitu there, both getting a 5-second penalty for severe collisions. And there we go. Isberg with a perfect start, just because Georges was still stuck behind Fergie, the ghost car. So good opportunity for the Williams driver to try and break away here. Duncan not quite able to get ahead. Barbie struggling as well. Looks to have been fairly clean. Further back, Benjamin, using those medium tyres, gets his way past Juanito, back actually into where he started. Benjamin, despite having to make that stop and that incident early on, nearly losing the car at the top of Adion, and that's going to give the Haas driver a fantastic chance to come back all the way up the hill. No DRS, of course, until we get on to lap 11, 2 laps after the safety car has come in. Has the Haas got enough grip to hold it off on the inside? Not this time around, so Benjamin managed to keep that position. The perfect start for the Williams. Isra in the lead of this race. Georgia second. Duncan in third position. Farby holding on for now on those hard tyres, but you'd imagine Ash, Alonso and Ballina will want to get ahead sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we could see that gap for the top 3 grow again.
Very clean restart there from the leader in the Williams, of course. He's caught Georges out a little bit, and he's pulling a little bit of time. One man who is looking a little bit smoother in terms of his
sorry to interrupt, Evan. Ash is around. I don't know whether there's contact there between Ash and Alonso, but the Ferrari man is around, and that is going to drop him down to next but last position, basically at the back of the train. So that gives Fabi a bit of breathing room on those hard tyres. Back to you, Evan.
That's Ash getting caught out by the tyres there. So, as we were saying, one man's smoothing out his driving style. It's not Ash, it is Duncan, who is picking up his pace, finding his own old form possibly, and gaining. Fabi doing a good job on those hard compound tyres, pulling the gap from Falcon Alonso. as Falcon Alonso does have his teammate Fergie behind, but that is a lap down. But it is a car in between himself and Balliner, which is what he could need if Balliner tries to launch a charge.
Yeah, can't imagine Balliner launching a charge at the moment. I think Georges, though, is going to be going through this move now. ERS on, you can see the overtake bar going down there. Just that extra 7 laps of tyre grip, enough for him to be able to make this move even before the DRS has been activated down the inside into Lacombe. And that is the pole man back into the lead of this race. Georges takes the lead, perhaps a bit unfortunate with the incident that has happened, of course, with Casper, and now is Mix in second. And this is where it all changes, because Duncan needs to get this move done. If he's third man in the DRS train, even with the older tyres on the Williams, could be quite difficult.
Certainly could be difficult, and that was Midnight picking up a 3-second penalty there. He's not having a good race at all. He's down at 12th and struggling to pick up the pace there, getting up that wing damage from the safety car. There's a couple of unhappy campers in the chat about that incident with Casper, and rightly so. It's a bad incident, but unfortunately I don't think we can pin the blame on Fergie for this one. He didn't really cause it. It's an AI sort of thing, but that will be investigated after the race. We can't worry too much about that. Laganga he's been dropped from this train. Always around, always in the wall, and that's his front wing on. Just as we're commentating on that, that is his front wing on, and we have a VSC.
Yeah, VSC, and I think one which Ismail actually comes into the pits. I was going to say it might be able to just help him keep Duncan behind for a bit longer, but this might not work out too bad for the Williams driver. Is he going to go onto a set of soft tyres to try and get them to last 12 laps until the end of this race? And a pit stop under the VSC, a lot cheaper than one without it. He is actually going for that set of the hard tyres, serving a 5-second penalty. Now, if you're going for the hard tyres, I'm a bit surprised that he didn't come in under the full safety car, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought if he was staying on the mediums, he was going to try to stretch them for the soft tyres to be a viable strategy. He's going to come out, though, in 12th position, has got the freshest tyres of anyone, just as long as he can keep them up to temperature. And if it wasn't for that 5-second penalty, it wouldn't change his position. He would be a lot closer to the back of the pack, as Laganga obviously coming in to change that front wing. Georges, understandably, with the fact that the man that in second place has pitted, has actually been able to gain a bit under the VSC, as a drive-through penalty for S2B Lorry for speeding under that virtual safety car, all having to push quite as much. He'll have to serve that in the next few laps. Gotta say, Georges probably one of the biggest winners out of that situation, as Benjamin fighting his way through the field again. He is up into 6th, despite that spin early on, still putting on a fantastic performance in the Mercedes.
Benjamin's a man on form at the minute in this race. He's really looking comfortable on that car. Of course, crashed in qualifying, so he was struggling. Had that early spin, although we still don't know what happened there. He's really looking comfortable here. And his teammate Midnight has got past. Oh, I think we have a disconnect. Yeah, we do. We have a disconnect. That is unfortunate for Shazoo Mikey. He has disconnected. And inevitably out of this race, as Laurie's really struggling since he's picked up this drive-through. I don't know what's happened to him, but he's losing positions left, right and centre, down to 9th now, and he's intercepted the drive-through. But Benjamin looking comfortable in this race.
Yeah, he is. Now he's just going to try and work his way up the order. He's already broken that 1 second back to Juanito. Shame for Mish that he's disconnected. A shame for Love that he's got that drive-through penalty, as Juanito nowhere near making the apex of La Source. Created his own racetrack, almost IndyCar but Austin style there. Wouldn't be surprised if he picks up a warning at least for that. Midnight all over the back of Lakitu. Both of these drivers are going to have DRS, but just look how close the Mercedes is underneath the rear wing of the Alfa Romeo. Setups might make a slight difference here. The slightly stronger slipstream as well for Midnight, as Fergie picks up another 5-second penalty down the inside. Goes Midnight, bit of contact, but I think they just about get away with that. Lakitu nearly loses the car, and all this battling is allowing Juanito getting away, and Benjamin as well. And Lakitu just stays ahead for now, as I think Fergie has disconnected again. Such a shame for him. So Georges in the lead of this race. Duncan second, Farby in third, doing a good job of holding on, and you'd guess in about 5 or 6 laps time he's going to be on the better tyres out of these front three.
Yeah, Midnight, of course, with that little bit of a spin on the safety car, the damage or whatever has happened, has got fresher tyres. It's only going to be a few percent, but everything matters in these sort of races. He needs to get past this Alfa Romeo if he does want to continue his charge up the field, just like his teammate Benjamin, closing that gap to Balliner. But Balliner's no easy man to catch. He's no slouch when it comes to F1 league racing. He is on the back of the AlphaTauri of Falcon Alonso, who I have to say is doing a fantastic job to keep this fourth position. His pace is very good, and he's not making mistakes like a lot of drivers who we have seen so far this evening.
Yeah, you can see he's gained 2 positions. Obviously, Casper having his issues and Midnight as well, that, but kept it nice and clean when so many others haven't. At the moment, you can see all the top 7 haven't got any penalties, and if we do see other VSCs, especially if we see another safety car, that could be oh so important. But I think the junior team is going to have to make way for the driver in the senior car very shortly. There goes Alonso, knows he can't even defend that, and Balliner just streaks past. 10-mile-per-hour difference, absolutely nothing the AlphaTauri man can do. And that is Balliner recovering again from that poor start up into 4th place. Lakitu gets his way past Juanito on those medium tyres, so that is Lakitu up into 7th, and this could really help him. He's got that Haas in between himself and Midnight.
Midnight on the straight there had a little bit of a lift. He is saving this Mercedes for what could be a long... Oh no, Midnight! He's taken out the Haas, and he's in the wall, and now has front wing damage, and we have a safety car. So the only thing launching there, unfortunately, was that Haas straight across the track, and I have a feeling I'm commentator cursing drivers tonight, Luke. This isn't going very well.
Yeah, we did catch that incident of, like, fortunately for the pair of them. I think Midnight thought that Juanito realised it was alongside. Juanito moved across ever so slightly, tiny bit of contact between the two, and it does send them into the wall. Midnight having quite a problematic race indeed. 5-second penalty. Front wing damage is going to have to come into the pits, and he is going to be a long way down the order. Another virtual safety car then. Will we see any drivers maybe even coming to the pits for a set of these soft tyres? Just try something different, and there we go. The leader carries on in George's. Duncan and Farby thinking it's worth a sort. It's a social race, might as well learn something. Coming in surely for a set of softs.
Georges has stayed out, Balliner has stayed out because he's going to get the double stack, Benjamin has stayed out, Fabi is in for a set of the mediums, which is a poor call I think from me, but these guys know more than I do. Duncan's on softs, Alonso on a fresh set of mediums, a lot of action in this pit lane, Lakitu serving a 5 seconds, but he'll be going on a set of softs after Isma in. He only pit recently, but he's going to get rid of those hard tyres. Ash in as well. He's found an avenue back into this race, of course, after that spin. Laurie, after that drive-through, also finding an avenue in, and Laganga will be given an opportunity to catch up, as he only did pit a lap ago for a fresh set of mediums.
Yeah, so Laganga able to catch up onto the back of the pack. A bit like what we saw Lakitu do earlier on, and now look at him, 7th place on a set of the soft tyres. He's done 3 stops. Has got 6 seconds of penalties though, and as we mentioned a few minutes ago, that is going to be so much more important in this situation, and just a shame for Juanito. I think didn't realise Midnight had got much better exit coming out of the Bruchel hairpin, went to take the race in line, and there was just enough of a Mercedes there to make it impossible to do so. So the top 3 drivers staying out, Duncan on a set of the softs. And all I can imagine is for Fabi and Alonso, they did not have a fresh set of the soft tyres, and they've had to go for the mediums. It'll be a miracle for these drivers if they can take the victory of this race out on track ahead of Duncan and those top 3 ahead. Now, I'd imagine for Fabi and Alonso, he could possibly get past Georges, Balliner and Benjamin. They'll have no worries about getting their mediums towards the end, but Duncan must be thinking this is a brilliant opportunity to get the win in this social race. Perhaps not the VSR driver in the early stages that we expected to win.
Duncan has gone for a good call here, and one thing that is saving him was actually his slightly poorer qualifying, because what seemed to happen was he only used 2 of his set of softs in qualifying, whereas Balliner used 3. Benjamin crashed out, but he hasn't pit, and Fabi and Falcon Alonso also must have used 3. I don't really know if they did or not, but it seems to be the case. Duncan, of course, the man we were saying, has picked up his performance throughout the duration of this race. He's doing a very nice job, but needs a little bit more to do, and it's not just hold behind, he needs to start overtaking. But that is one thing the Dutchman is quite good at, as we have seen throughout past seasons.
Yeah, he is indeed. And we know Duncan's not afraid of chucking a nose up the inside. Definitely, I think it's fair to say he rubbed a few noses the wrong way last season, but did arguably one of the most improved drivers across the F1 2020 cycle, starting off in F2, ending up taking that F1 championship to the final round in the Brazil. But in the end, Wilson Hughes just a bit too strong, and Wilson, of course, announcing that he will not be taking part in season 29. Definitely not on the PS4. Would not surprise me. We end up seeing him on PC, though, sooner rather than later. 8 laps to go, under the safety car again for the second time. Georges, Ballina and Benjamin. They've got to somehow work together to stop these drivers on the fresh tyres in 4th to 7th place, and wants to get ahead of the AI car of Miege or those further down the field, just streaking away, especially Duncan. He's going to have pure tyre advantage. You imagine he's over a second a lap faster once we get back to green flag action.
Yeah, that's a very valid point to say there, that they will be working together, because I know for a fact Balliner and Duncan are probably in the same party. Georges is a VRT driver, so is Balliner, and Benjamin, of course, used to be a VRT driver, has left for the Comrade Gaming team now. So working together is going to be a crucial part of this, but that's not something we normally see between Red Bull and Mercedes specifically in Formula 1. And Balliner, of course, his teammate being Duncan for tonight. So it will really be, will he turn his back against the Red Bull team? Lower order though, a lot of drivers on softs that we need to keep an eye on. This will be a almighty scrap for the points paying positions. Of course, no points on offer, it's a social race, but still a top 10 finish is always good for the record books. And a couple of people asking in the stream chat why so many DNFs. It's crashes, unfortunately, causes DNFs, and we've had quite a few of them tonight.
Yeah, Eau Rouge was a tricky enough corner, speaking from experience on previous F1 games. Never mind that the cars, of course, for 2021 mandated by Pirelli, and in what some said was a move to slow down Mercedes and Aston Martin, the low-rate cars, reduced rear downforce, and at that high-speed corners, the last thing you want is some reduced rear downforce. Safety car is coming in. We will hopefully get 7 more laps of a green flag action now that the entire pack has caught up. Fergie's AI car still driving around at this moment, and Georges controlling as we see the AMG safety car get away. When is he going to decide to put the hammer down? It's quite late for his Merc, just coming out of the bus stop chicane. I wouldn't be surprised if it is very similar for Georges. Alonso gets a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Fabi. Hopefully that hasn't done any damage for him, because that if he has done any damage, I think, for either of those cars, that is really going to cause problems. And it doesn't look like there is any major front wing damage on Alonso's car. And Georges has gone for it early there, and he has caught Ballina napping. Absolutely fantastic restart from the Alfa Romeo man. 7 laps to go. Georges in the lead. Ballina in second. Not thinking about attacking whatsoever. He's going to have plenty of defending to do from Benjamin and Duncan.
Yeah, really good restart from the Alfa Romeo. That's exactly what he needed to do if he wants to pull away. But Duncan has fallen a little bit back behind Benjamin. Benjamin seems to be slipstreaming Balliner. Eau Rouge ready on now, and he's got a brilliant launch. Duncan's picked up at 3 seconds here. That could be crucial towards the end of the race. Only a few laps left, of course, and Benjamin's going for it now, side by side. Hopefully they can keep it clean, and Benjamin's got the position now. So really, really good restart from the 3 drivers who needed it up the front of the pack.
Yeah, devastating news for Duncan. Obviously getting that penalty. Isbix now gets one as well, so a bit tougher for him. I think that is his second 3-second side penalty in this race. Did serve a 5-second one earlier on as well, and Duncan has to push like absolutely crazy now. Doesn't want to be the 3rd man in this DRS train with Benjamin and Ballina. You can see George's DRS not a worry for him at the moment. 1.5 seconds ahead at the front of the field. Lakitu's managed to get ahead of Alonso, who just drop a bit further down the order. That is actually Isma making a move at the second part of Pujon, not a place that you normally see overtaking points, but these drivers clearly not afraid to try something different tonight in this social race. Alonso and Ash Best follow each other off of the circuit there, picking up a time penalty for both of them, and Duncan all over the back of Ballina here, just with that extra grip. It's almost like the former VRT driver just didn't get enough heat into his tyres early on, struggled on the restart, and it's been passed twice already, although he does look as though he's thinking about a move back and decides discretion, the better part of Valor, does not want to add to the retirements in this race, as 3 wide into the entry of the bus stop there, and that is Midnight. He's took the pair of them ahead of Ash Best, ahead of Alonso. Midnight up into 8th. He may have been involved in a few incidents, but he's determined to show what he is made of.
And that right there is, you can see why he has been given that COG contract. Pure class from Midnight there. He's now up to 8, but he still has a mammoth task ahead of him to get anything more from this race. Georges, however, doing an absolutely fantastic job to extend the gap from COG Benjamin at the front of the grid. Benjamin as well is just slightly ahead of Duncan, and not by much, so he will be under threat from Duncan. Duncan absolutely flying, but one man who isn't flying, who I thought would be, is Lakitu. He's fallen off at the back of Fabi, who is managing to stick up with our front runners here. Really good job from the McLaren driver in 5th position.
I'm starting to think that Alonso did actually pick up some minor damage that we can't see at the moment as Midnight picks up a 3-second time penalty. He was right on the back of Fabi, of course, had that incident under the VSC and has lost 5 places since then, and on those medium tyres, dropping behind Law. You'd imagine Laganga might be able to have a go later on as well. Not the result Alonso would have wanted after a stunning first 13-14 laps to this race. Duncan now all over the back of Benjamin, knows he needs to make some moves if he wants to maybe even secure a podium here, depending on what the penalty situation happens at the end of this race, especially if he wants to have a go for the win. He's got to find 4.8 seconds and get past 2 cars in all that. Which way is he going to go on Benjamin into the bus stop chicane? Decides, quite wisely perhaps, with DRS being activated this time around, decides not to go for the position. Duncan just playing the smart game there. He's not going to have a go into La Source either, I imagine.
No, I can't imagine. Source will be the clever place to go. A fastest lap actually for Effio Risma in 7th spot. He's looking very comfortable in this race now. He's managed to close that gap. Oh, we have a side-by-side moment. Ballner's got Duncan. That's a turn for the books as 2 Red Bulls swapping and changing. It's going to be a big battle down the Camel Straight here.
Yeah, Benjamin, I think, trying to be a bit clever with the DRS there to stop Duncan getting ahead of him, and it's allowed Balliner through as well. Duncan not quite going to be able to make it. There's been a contact. Benjamin having to get forced over the curb there. Duncan just managing to avoid getting in all this, and I think it's fair to say this is getting a bit scrappy between these drivers. Duncan dives down the inside into Bouchel. So much more grip there. I'm surprised he managed to get that car. Stops, he came in so hot there. Duncan into 3rd position once more, trying to have another go at Benjamin, but the gap between Georges and Benjamin is now 3 seconds, and you'd imagine, unless something mysterious happens, unless something miraculous happens, Georges, especially after penalties, will be taking the victory in this race. Duncan all over the back of Benjamin. I can't imagine he'll be too happy at the Mercedes man. Decided to slow down there and just costing him the DRS as Lakitu at the exit of the campus chicane, as we've seen Giovinazzi do a couple of times. Spins it around, down to 11th place. Needs to be careful that he doesn't overheat those tyres as Duncan on the inside of Blanchimont. Is he going to be able to make this move stick? Will that inside line prove to be key for Benjamin into the bus stop?
Really good battling here. Duncan is going to be fuming at Benjamin for that DRS shenanigans down the main straight. But what a tactic, normally picked up at Monaco. Georges is right here. It is track position overall, and he's really doing a great job here. And a common phrase that could be used for this is, when all others are losing their heads, don't lose yours. He is storming away at the front of the grid, but here comes Duncan again. Benjamin slowing down on the straights. What's he doing?
He wants for DRS, and Duncan, I think quite right, is like, I'm behind you. I'm getting a nice easy run down the Kemmel straight here. You don't see much bump drafting in Formula 1. That's more for last car. Duncan down the inside of Benjamin. I think Fabi's involved in all this as well. He manages to work his way past Balliner. So 1 Red Bull gains, 1 Red Bull loses. You've got Isma and Midnight. He even managed to get his way up into all this. 2nd to 7th. You can throw a tablecloth over all of them at this moment in time. Isma tries to go around the outside of Balliner at Bouchel there. Midnight and Isma, we've already seen Midnight have a bit of trouble there earlier on. This time he stays behind. I think I saw Benjamin doing that with Gamer last season on the F1 game when they were just battling and having a bit of fun with themselves over 14th and 15th place. This time it might only be a social race, but they're wanting to get every position. Isma's trying to go around the outside, wasn't enough space for that, makes contact with Balliner, and he is off the road. Midnight's up into 5th place. How on earth has he managed this with all what's gone on in this race?
Midnight has snuck his way up there, gained 7 seconds in total due to this battling between Benjamin and Duncan. Duncan's bolted, so we'll have no more of Benjamin's brake checking moments on the to try and get the DRS, but Duncan has a 3-second penalty, meaning he's to gain 3 seconds past Georges and gain another 3 unless Georges, of course, gets a penalty to win this Grand Prix. A really, really tough task. Fabi has stuck his way past Balliner as well, and Ismail is in the pits. He'll be going for a fastest lap attempt, I imagine, just for his own sake. Oh, never mind, he won't be.
No, Ismail retiring then out of this race, and we are down to just 13 runners. Duncan up into second, Fabi a bit further behind Benjamin, just perhaps on those medium tyres of freshness has worn off on this occasion. But look how much he is closing down the straight, so much more straight line speed. Is he going to go for it down the inside? Decides not to this time around. Balliner all over the back of Ash Best. Alonso, he pitted for a fresh set of the soft tyres, fastest lap, 1:42.416. Of course, once the season starts in PSGL, well, there will be a bonus point for the fastest lap, but only if you finish in the top 10 as Fabi off the road there, and that's now Midnight up into 4th place. Not sure if there was any contact between them. We know they were fairly close on the circuit, but Fabi down into 8th. Doesn't look like he's got any damage. Is that just another car making contact or losing it on traction, as we've seen so many times today?
Yeah, not good for Fabi. He's lost out big time there, and I'm not sure if it is his own fault or not, but unfortunately down to 8th. Duncan has clawed a second out of Georges here, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win this Grand Prix. It might be enough to take P1 on the circuit, but he really has to put in 2 superb laps, 2 of the best laps that he will do if he wants to find a way past Georges and to win this Grand Prix, because he's not going to be in DRS on the Kemmel Straight on lap 21. He will only get it on lap 22.
That is if he does get it on lap 22. He's going to have to gain about 7 tenths on this lap, as a Midnight all over the back of Benjamin. Now, it's looking like the podium's fairly set because of the penalty situation with all these drivers. Midnight has 9 seconds, as we've got another yellow flag there, and I think that is, not sure if that's Fergie or Alonso. I think it is actually Alonso who has spun around there. Lakitu's coming to the pit. He maybe wants his own fastest lap point, speeds into the pit lane, but here comes Midnight on the back of Benjamin. Should be a fairly straightforward swap, although one of the CRG drivers leaves it very late to pass the other one, but the Thai driver is through. Midnight into 3rd place. Balliner down the inside of Ash Best. Those soft tyres perhaps seeing a bit past their best. All of a sudden here, Balliner and Ash battling like crazy at the moment. Who said they might not take this that seriously, and it's only a social race? They're still fighting tooth and nail at the moment. Down the inside into No Name. Ash has to yield for now and just holds off the back of Balliner, and that's really allowing all these up ahead. Only a few laps ago we had about 6 cars. I said you could barely cover them with a tablecloth. They were so close together. Now Balliner 4 seconds behind Benjamin, and Midnight 4 seconds behind Duncan, and he has got in that all-important DRS range. A good bus stop and a good La Source, and you might just be close enough to have a go into Lacombe next time around.
One thing that I did note last season, it could be different on this game of course, but from my F5 country experiences, is the tyres on the softs get so much better a launch than used mediums on the final lap. You can just see it here in the chicane. He's gaining a lot of time. He has a lot to do if he wants to win this race, as his DRS is on 8%. George says a little bit more. Midnight's around.
Well, Midnight's having the most up and down performance. Alton Towers are going to want to design a roller coaster based on this performance. Midnight now down into 6th place. Duncan is going to have the DRS range of Georges, but he's not going to be close enough to exact a pass, as Laurie gets ahead of Midnight as well. I think it's gone around again, overheating those rear tyres. Done so easily. Of course, Fabi retires into the pit, so we are down to 12, effectively 10 runners, with Misha and Fergie having disconnected. And there you go, Duncan nowhere near close enough. Ash Best is though on Balliner. He now takes what is 4th place back off the Red Bull driver, and those two are on the same for penalties. So how we see it out on track is how it's going to be at the end of the race, as Duncan just caught the tail end of that. Duncan early losing the car outside of Bouchel. It's fair to say the strategies aren't quite perfected yet, and the setups, judging by how this race has gone.
No, definitely not yet. Still a lot of work to do to become the fastest possible. I reckon Duncan could try a move into the bus stop though. He is close enough, and he'll be wanting to do it to take the win on track. He's shown superior pace in this last stint to catch up to Georges, but Georges, of course, Hadn't even set a qualifying time until about 3 minutes ago, but he's proved absolutely superb in this Grand Prix. One last opportunity for Duncan, but I don't think he's going to be close enough.
No, both of them below that 10% on the ERS. You can see the red light on George's car. You can see it on the dashboard for Duncan, who is not close enough. It's been a fantastically clean drive from George's when so many others struggled. He takes the victory in this social race. Duncan crossing the line in second. He's far enough ahead of Benjamin that he will hold that even after penalties. Ash ahead of Ballina, rounding out the top 5. Love recovering from issues early on to get 6th position. Leganga completely under the radar in the Haas. Another driver to recover after the safety car, after making an incident early on. He gets 7th place. Alonso will come home in 8th position. In the end, Midnight did retire from this race. Lakito, he will be in 9th, and then it'll be Mish and Fergie in the AI cars. All the chaos that happened, so many near misses and incidents with so many different drivers. But the only one we didn't see get into any trouble whatsoever was George's, so no surprise he's the victor.
Midnight not even finishing the race in the end, in what has to be the most up and down performance in PSGL in a long time anyways. But George's, of course, kept a steady head, tried a different strategy, didn't pay for the softs, and he has come out the victor. Extremely good stuff for George's, and the driver of the day is Leganga, of course, who you said went very unnoticed, and rightly so, had a superb drive. But here is our podium for the social race.
Yeah, George's for VRT, an absolutely fantastic performance from the F2 reserve from last season. Duncan, runner-up in the championship last year, takes 2nd place, and it was Benjamin who came home in 3rd after, let's not forget, that contact, we think maybe, between the two Mercedes early on. So they are your podium sitters. Love comes home in 4th, Ballina 5th, Ash Best in 6th. 3 stops for Leganga, not that it matters though, as he come from 20th to 7th. Lakito, the other driver who didn't set a time in qualifying, a long way down the field in time, ends up finishing 8th. Alonso, the last finisher. Midnight retired on the final lap. Mish and Fergie were disconnected. We saw Farby retire late on as well. 13 drivers down as classified and only 9 finishing, shows you how hectic the final laps of that race were. And Isma, Juanito, Casper, Lars, Javi, Tony. And let's not forget Frick, who retired on lap 1 of this race. That seems absolutely ages ago now, given all that has happened. That is what's happened to all 20 drivers today. But a superb performance from George's. That safety car restart, he got it absolutely perfect in the end. And that meant he could pull that gap ahead of Duncan, who did end up getting that penalty, did end up catching right back up to him on track. But George's has already pulled away. And even without that penalty, as it seems, nothing Duncan could do about the pace of the Alfa Romeo.
That safety car restart was crucial for George's because he kept himself out of that battle with Benjamin and Ballina and Duncan, which is what lost them all their time in the end. If Duncan had have managed to get past them on the first lap that battle was there, we would have seen a completely different end to that Grand Prix. George's kept himself clean, did what he had to do, and he has won this social race. And the correct victor, in my opinion. He drove a very smooth race.
Yeah, like you said, an absolutely fantastic performance from him. Left it late in qualifying. I don't think he wanted to do that too much once the season gets underway, but did manage to have a fantastic run in qualifying and ends up taking the victory. So a brilliant performance from him. If you do want to join PSGL this season, there is still time. You can see the time trial, the sign-up tracks on screen at this moment in time. July the 19th, they open. August the 2nd, they go on to July the 31st, I believe, is when the sign-ups close. Although probably want to get it done sooner rather than later. And there will be some PC action in the week as well if you've not had enough of the social races. VSR and PSGL collaborating on Tuesday for a social race, and the now weekly esports invitational will be on the Thursday. Thank you so much to Evan for joining me in the commentary box. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us for this stream. Leave a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it. Would really be appreciated by all here at PSGL, and we will see you next time around. Tuesday is the home of the next PC Invitational race. But for myself and Evan, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.